Have you ever found yourself chasing the approval of emotionally unavailable people and found yourself in a repetitive pattern and found yourself wondering why? Well, if like you have, hang around for a little while and I'll explain a few home truths and maybe we can come to some solutions together. Because if you've been chasing the approval of unavailable people, it may be that in your background you've sown the seeds of some kind of unmet need. Probably happened at quite a young age. So let's consider a backstory. I'll give you an example of my backstory, and then perhaps you can draw some inferences from that for yourself. Because my backstory was that I was an only child until I was 5, and then my sister came along, and of course my sister took up a lot of time and energy and affection from my parents. And so I think I managed to implant into myself the notion that I was missing out on affection, or affection that had been given to me previously was now no longer available. So the story I started to tell myself was one that if I'm able to achieve the unachievable, or attain the unattainable, or chase the unavailable to me and succeed at those things, then I'm going to prove myself worthy. And that story was a coping mechanism, and it's a way that I managed to prevail and a way that I managed to hold things together. And on some levels, although some of the results of that story have been damaging to me or caused me to enter into failed relationships, on another level, as a coping mechanism, as a means to adapt, it's been a success. So if you find yourself trying to prove your worth by chasing people who are not available to you, you might wonder how that shapes your behavior, and more importantly, how it shapes other people's perceptions of your behavior. Because if the thing you're chasing becomes an innate enemy or an adversary or a foe to you, or even worse, it becomes prey, you might find yourself in a situation where you're trying to rescue, where you're trying to save, salvage, and pick people who are clearly not suitable for your needs. And the more unsuitable to your needs they are, the more you want to chase them. So as I began to realize that, I began to realize that I was preparing to slay some kind of emotional dragon here. Coming to terms with how I'd been chasing the wrong people and making myself available to people who are not available to me, I realized that I'm going to have to change some things unless I want simply to do more of the same. And so I figured it would be wise to seek some assistance or guidance, or get myself a guidance system of some kind, a toolkit of some kind. And throughout this process, I started to evaluate myself, and I came up with my own 5-step challenge to assist people who have been in a similar situation to myself. I realized that in order to change things, I needed to take stock. I needed to do an audit. I needed to do an audit of people in my life. I needed to audit the actions that I take. And I also needed to audit the quality of my goals. Because one of the dangers of chasing the unavailable is that it becomes an incredible distraction. And it takes you away from more valuable and more meaningful things. I had to ask myself, have I just become an approval vampire? Am I just engaging with people simply to earn their approval? And if this were the case, is it too late for me to rewrite that story? I decided that it wasn't too late for me to rewrite that story, and posting this is part of that. There is optimism to be gained from this. But first you have to realize you've been engaged in a repetitious, programmed cycle or feedback loop, which is not serving you very well. I had to ask myself, do I have the tools that I need to be able to slay this dragon? Do I have the guidance that I need? And so I came up with a 5-step process which asks people about their how, about their story, about their attitude, about their character, and about the mind-body relationship that we experience when we're chasing things. Because We are complex in our neurology, and on top of that, our neurology can affect the way that we feel. In fact, it does all the time. And so you have to understand that if you're chasing the unattainable, you're engaging in a protracted dopamine addiction. And a dopamine addiction can be a dangerous thing because it needs constantly to be topped up. And so the unattainables that you are seeking become increasingly unattainable in order to get a bigger hit of dopamine. Bearing this in mind means that if you realize that you've formed an addiction with your own dopamine, you're going to have to experience withdrawal. But you're also going to have to understand that withdrawal symptoms will be a consequence of a change in your behavior. You may miss the thrill of the chase or the thrill of the hunt. You may feel that there's something missing in your life because you're not following the same patterns that you usually do. You may second guess yourself and you may relapse because, let's face it, the urge to enjoy ourselves by chasing something, some candy, the urge to do this is a strong one. It's part of our evolutionary wiring. Unfortunately, we can succumb to it and we can become addicted. But our brain, unfortunately, can be a massive pharmacy and can produce quite addictive chemicals within it. Understanding this is a valuable step to take. When you start to ask yourself, why am I in a feedback loop where I tend to do the same thing over and over again, get the same results, and continue to feel dissatisfied? So be prepared. And one way you can prepare yourself is by removing the distractions of the chase and by replacing it with a larger, more purposeful goal. That means that you can't afford to be distracted. Set yourself a 10x goal. Set yourself a moonshot goal. Give yourself some purpose, which is greater than the purpose of chasing unattainable people who are never going to give you the approval you desire. If you'd like some more guidance or help on this, feel free to check the links in the description, and I'll catch you on the next episode.